So the question is taking the classic characters and revisiting them during sort of the classic era, as opposed to this kind of more, later era of the legacy.
Well, I certainly had fun doing Tattooing Ghosts, so I hope that there are plans, but of course I don't know.
We talk about it a lot. It's a logistical question. How much can they fit into their lives? They've done so much. If you look back and ask Leland how busy they've been, we go to him and say, is there any little space that we could fit in where they weren't already somewhere doing something? And then we're totally open to the idea.
And then you should start with the author. The author really has to want to write about that character. So Matt Stover really wants to see that like Luke's story.
Yeah.
So
is when we assign or when an author approaches us, or however we go about finding these people, we really look to their passion to drive a story, because if we assign an era and characters and say go write something but they aren't passionate about that, then we don't get the best story we could get. So I like to let the creative people do their job.
The only place we do it is with the multi-book, multi-author series.
One of the things about writing Luke and Han and Leia and all the really established characters is, as a writer, you want to find some corner of their psyche that you can make yours for a little while. Something to explore and to deepen. And that's hard to do when you go back in time to the really well-established areas. It's certainly possible, but it requires a lot of work and a lot of thinking on your part. So it is something that's going to happen more rarely than us getting involved in stories that continue on in the future, where the character's own development through the timeline, like Luke being a dad and Han and Leia being grandparents, just affords us naturally.
And it was interesting that you used the phrase baggage in your question, because if you decide to do a really impactful story with these characters early on, then that raises the question, well, why aren't they carrying baggage from that event? Because that event has never been chronicled before.
Well, I will let you know that, the moment I forget the date, did any of you read Allegiance by Tenzon?
Yep.
Yeah. There's going to be a follow-up to that.
I think it's October 2011.
That sounds about right. And in that book, obviously those characters are a lot younger, and they're all featured in it, just like in Allegiance.
That brings up the scary anniversary of the fact that Allegiance by Zahn, or that this new novel by Zahn will be coming up around the 20th anniversary of Heir to the Empire.
And that's real scary.
Where is this going to go? Let's get something on this side here. Yeah.
yes, what are the processes the author goes through creating characters?
So, question about the process of creating characters and settings for your stories.
If you're asking about individual characters when we just design a character, it's probably different every time, but the common thread is that you sit down with a character that you need to have a need fulfilled. You need to have a story, a slot in the story. You want to have a character do X. So you start asking, what kind of character is this character? And you start brainstorming about what kind of character is going to fill that role in the neatest way. And then in our cases, we'll bounce characters back and forth a lot. Christie and I, when we were developing the outlines for Abyss and Omen, designed several smaller characters together by just bouncing the ideas back and forth. What do we need to have a character that's going to continue from your story into my story. What should they be? And that's how we ended up with Barb and Yukio.
And Dorman.
Yeah.
Speaking of these new characters, I gotta say, this might be for Christie, this might be for all of you. It's like the character of the journalist. I love the fact that our heroes face sadistic alien invaders from another galaxy, and and a would-be tyrant, but now one of the most challenging villains that they have is just a relentless, muckraking journalist. So, I can describe some of the development of that character.
Well, that kind of came out of the observers that we had in the first book. And we kind of liked some of the pressure that put on it, but we didn't want to have something completely that smothering through the whole series.
That autocratic.
Yeah, exactly. And I used to work for a newspaper. I have nothing but the highest respect for the real journalists. But we all know that there are a lot of people out there who are more showmen than actual journalists, and they're more concerned with how their hair looks than the accuracy of the facts they're reporting. And that's something that has always amused and irritated me. And along came Janice here, and he really just kind of appeared kind of whole cloth, and I was able to kind of run with him and have quite a bit of fun at his expense. A particular delight was when I listened to the audiobook and the reader for the book Omen decided to make him sound like Stone Phillips. It's a Jedi.
More than anyone else right now, he is the man you love to hate.
Well, it's refreshing because, our characters are used to, cutting down doors and kicking over villains. Really can't do anything with this guy.
There was, talk about heavy stories with, the main characters, Han, Luke, Leia, and so forth, but what about secondary characters special secondary characters from movies like Wedge and Jansen, which Aaron, you did a great job in developing those characters from way back. With the X-Wing series, especially Starfighter Zadimars was my favorite book there. Anyway, is there any plans to get any of those characters involved in their own novels or books, or somebody maybe in this series, or perhaps maybe a standalone book, or even their offspring, like Wedge has offspring, like you introduced your daughter in the Legacy of the Force series. She's a pilot like he is, or he was. So is there any chance of developing something like that with those characters?
There hasn't been any discussion that has at least filtered down to me, but I will point out that if there's a substantial amount of pressure from the reading audience, it might happen. So I'm not the one to talk to.
We're willing to mine all the characters that have existed any time in the movies, in the comics, in our own books, if they fit what we're doing. And if an author comes and says to us, we hire an author and they're doing a standalone, and we say, what do you want to do? They say, well, I really love this character, what can I do with him? Then we'll probably say, hey, go for it.
Now, Del Rey and Lucasfilm have never objected to us bringing these characters in where they're appropriate. The thing is, the universe, the primary thrust of the publishing program is about the Jedi, which is a good thing and a bad thing. The good thing about it is, if we know that the Jedi are first and foremost the trailblazers for the story, we can bring in other characters to do other things pretty much as we want, as long as they fit the story, as long as they're appropriate. So you'll always see them.
Just a quick question: is Nominor dead?
Is Nominor dead?
I think he was last seen on Zanama Sakot doing whatever kind of repentance the Yuuzhan Vong are doing there, learning to be spiritual and nice guys and not, nasty, evil.
And if you think how long it'll take Nominor to become a nice guy, he's going to be there well.
You focus more on the day-to-day activities of the characters. I was wondering if as the alternate method, you have to develop more lore based on the fact that you want to show them eating. Because I noticed in your book, you reference nerve steaks at this time. So I was wondering if you guys can introduce other foods.
I come from a theater background, and I also have always had personal difficulties. Parents have their strengths and weaknesses, and mine when I was beginning was description. And I've never had problems with dialogue, I've never had problems with character development, but description was kind of hard for me. And so I have found ways to get myself into a place by generally a sensory experience of it. You'll notice a lot of descriptions of tactile things, olfactory things. I'm a foodie, I confess. But that's something that people do, that's something we all know. It's an easy way to get into a comfortable situation. The day-to-day things with Star Wars, I had a lot of ramping up to do because I had not been following along, but I certainly dove in with Gus and I've read quite a bit. I actually love the day-to-day things about Star Wars because to me it makes it feel real. It's not just gallivanting about from sword fight to sword fight. These people have to worry, do they have enough cred points? They want to go get a cat, things like that. I love that, and to me that kind of grounds it. so that I can then jump off. I'll move it much more in a